What's wrong, Joe?
The latest slip and fall got you down or something?
No, I've been so stressed at work.
Pretty sure we made it so that wouldn't happen with your shortened work schedule.
Well, that was smart. He would definitely be dead by now if you didn't.
Usually it's fine, but everyone's up my ass about this border situation.
Of course they are. My brilliant genius Title 42 is finished, and the illegals are at the border swarming into the country. And they aren't sending their best people either.
Title 42 was just an excuse to deport everyone without asking any questions in the name of COVID.
Exactly. I set Joe up for success, and what does he do? Breaks the record for the number of aliens flooding in.
Like the little gray dudes, they're pretty chill. Just don't go near the spaceship or your brain will be fried like an egg roll.
Joe, don't tell the people about the aliens. They'll panic.
Who cares about them anyway? I offered them a buffet of McDonald's, and they so rudely declined.
They probably knew it was poison.
There wasn't any poison. I was honestly trying to open up a dialogue and maybe get some cool alien shit.
I'm saying they probably know McDonald's is straight up poison.
If McDonald's is poison, then ice cream must be twice as toxic if you look at the effects on Joe.
I was always a little dyslexic and not the most articulate, but I'm pretty sure most of the Dane Bramage came from the Quaaludes in the 80s.
Like in The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, exactly. That must make me the wolf of the White House.
It fits perfectly because you'll be thrown in jail by the end of the story.
I'll see you in there, asshole. Plus, that won't even happen if you lose to me again.
I can't see how I lose with a goddamn xenomorph infestation about to take place at the border.
If only to get you both to shut up. Do you guys want to do an alien movies tier list?
Only if you do Predators too.
Of course you like the Predators. You are one.
That's ironic considering what you're being accused of.
Come on, you seriously believe I would do what that crazy woman is spewing? Oh, you guys can go to hell.
Bro, your most famous quote is grab him by the pussy. I'm not saying I'd be shocked.
That's not fair. You don't even have a famous quote. More than half of what you say is incomprehensible.
To answer your question, Joe, yes, we can do Predator movies too. How else would we be able to cover the Alien versus Predator movies?
I'm actually hyped. Most of these movies are pretty great. That is, until recently.
That's an understatement. The Alien and Predator franchises are some of the most entertaining movies you can watch.
They are some of the best sci-fi creature features.
Unfortunately, like every other great movie franchise, the era of bangers is long gone. Writing is like a lost art nowadays.
Well, before we critique the most recent stuff, let's dive into the movie that started it all, Ridley Scott's Alien.
My God, was this movie a legend or what?
Very much so. This movie is goated.
The setting of the Nostromo matches that spooky, eerie feeling better than any other movie, whether it's horror or not.
It's good that you bring up horror because this movie is a great horror movie while simultaneously being a sci-fi space adventure. It was genre-defying.
The sets are ridiculously realistic, especially at the time.
I'm so glad Star Wars popped off and started a trend in space and sci-fi films.
Boy, I'll tell you, the second this movie's atmosphere hit me, I was extremely uncomfortable, but in an indescribably good way, and I don't even know how that's a thing.
The music, the dialogue, the actor's performance, and the setting all combined for a gripping experience unlike many others, especially nowadays.
I was impressed with the plot. Between Ash being a robot to the company naming them all expendable was a trip. The crew even being awake was sauce as fuck.
This was totally the first game of Among Us.
The biggest imposter among them wasn't even on the ship. It was those corporate assholes pushing pencils back on Earth.
Yeah, I would be pretty unmotivated to enter alien spacecraft knowing what I know now.
Go into the alien spacecraft, they said. Take a look around, they said.
Couldn't be me, bro. I'm not into being impregnated by an alien pussy crab.
On second thought, I'd be all up in there. That egg might make me act up.
Of course you find that attractive. It was so terrifying when the facehugger latched onto Kane. I, for one, wouldn't be putting my face that close to the thing.
Ripley was being a bitch for not letting them inside.
Ripley was not being a bitch. It's called protocols.
Bro, he doesn't know shit about protocols or titles or anything outside his ice cream flavors, really.
I know there's a deleted scene of Lambert attacking Ripley for her alien COVID policies.
I love a good cat fight. Ripley would have torn her fucking head off, though.
She is super badass and will only continue to be super badass as these films go on.
The characters in this movie were awesome, though. Dallas is a great leader, Parker is a believable tough guy, Brett is a reliable hillbilly, Kane a great British explorer, and even Lambert is a great representation of the audience watching.
Ash and Ripley were doing the best, in my opinion.
I thought it was the alien that did the best. From busting out of Kane's chest to picking off everyone but Ripley and the cat, this alien was an absolute menace.
Dallas getting taken by the alien is still a top 5 jump scare of all time for me.
I saw this in theaters when it came out, and that scene nearly made me shit my pants.
Ash was acting sus from the moment they landed and found alien life.
It would have been interesting to see how Ash would have reacted if the crew tried to kill the alien the second it busted out like my man Parker wanted to.
What an iconic scene.
I did not expect something so gross and realistic at that point in film history.
Neither did the actors. They didn't tell the actors about what would happen to Kane before filming, so the reactions were genuine. Even Lambert falling down was a legit reaction.
What won me over was really the crew's logical approach to killing the alien. Very rarely in today's Hollywood writing do we see the characters act with any intelligence. Meanwhile, this movie from 1979 has such great logic that I can't really find a single thing to criticize.
I think the Ash fight was kind of cringe.
Yeah, it was kind of cringe, but it was still a work of art both in writing and special effects, earning this movie an Oscar for the latter.
So much milk.
It got pretty milky. A fun scene, though. The revelation that he was a robot working for the evil corporation was an insane twist.
Elon definitely has a couple of these guys ready to go.
Or he is one.
Oh, shit.
Ash's sympathies made for a sinister reminder that the Xeno is pretty much unstoppable and nobody was going to save them.
The atmosphere in this film is truly something to behold. I've had actual fucking nightmares about being in that ship with the xenomorph on the loose.
Alien Isolation perfectly captured the same effect to make for an instant classic horror game.
There are so many Alien and Predator games that they need their own tier list, for sure. So let's hold off on the games for a future video.
Comment and like the video if you want to see that.
Of course they want to see it. Those games are fire.
Okay, back to the GOAT. How do we feel about the last act of this gem?
The pace really goes wild during this.
Yeah, I was surprised that you could make it through the intentionally slow pacing without falling asleep.
Back then, I was so blitzed all the time that I could have watched this movie 20 times in a row and not even blink.
They always ramp up the intensity right when you think the movie is all over in this franchise, and even in the Predator movies as well.
I've never been jump scared harder by a fucking cat in my whole life.
I really enjoy almost everything about this final act. The alien killing Parker and Lambert was both creepy and somehow satisfying.
Especially when the Xeno used the classic head bite and then the tail stab to finish them off.
New kink unlocked.
Blowing up the whole ship was a bit much, but understandable. It's like when you see a giant spider in your room and after you lose sight of it, you want to start burning the place down.
The one issue I have with this ending bit is the part where the alien shows up in the shuttle with that fucking strobe light.
Facts, Donnie, the flashing lights in that scene nearly gave me fucking epilepsy.
I think you mean narcolepsy.
Other than the annoying flashing light, the final sequence was done masterfully.
True, this movie instantly made Sigourney Weaver an icon, both as an actor and, in my mind, sexually.
Agreed.
Where do we think Alien should be placed?
S tier, obviously.
Yeah, it's really no question. One of the greatest films ever made.
I agree. I realize it could seem very slow to modern audiences, but when you understand and appreciate the buildup and suspense this movie was able to capture, you gotta respect it.
We on to Aliens?
We are.
Hell yeah!
Let's fucking go.
This is a much more action-oriented movie. Not really as many jump scares, but the death and destruction are tuned up to a large extent. Suspense was also still peaked with the ground that the previous movie covered already. It was cool to see James Cameron come in and change the atmosphere and direction of this franchise in a believable and extremely entertaining way.
James Cameron is a GOAT for alien movies. He did a great job converting this into a full-on action movie while still retaining some of the same suspense and horror vibes from the last one.
The intro was even a little suspenseful because you didn't know who picked Ripley up. It was fair to be on edge after Ripley was labeled as expendable by the company in the first movie.
This antagonist, Burke, the totally cool guy from the company, it was pretty lame for the most part.
It really took several night terrors and a career deal to get Ripley to go along with that sleazy fuck.
Could pretty much tell instantly that he was up to no good.
I think his character could have been a lot better. And they tried to pin Bishop as the internal threat because he started acting kind of weird after the alien was found. Just like Ash, obviously making us question what he said about not hurting humans, but Burke was actively trying to kill Ripley and a little girl.
The Marines were the best part about this movie. Oorah!
Hicks and Apone were standouts.
Look into my eye.
The rest of the squad was like looking at an NHL roster. Spunkmeyer? Where's Bowski? Did they get these dudes from Planet Canadia?
I was a huge fan of Hudson.
Why am I not surprised that you love the most obnoxious one there?
You didn't like Hudson?
I didn't say that. I just said he was obnoxious. I can still like people that are obnoxious. I hang out with you two all the time.
Feelings mutual, Donnie? I think more people in our country, especially our youth, could benefit From focusing less on what we disagree on and more on what we do agree on and not writing off someone just because they have a different belief on one subject or another.
Well said, Brock. Now, if only you Democrats actually practiced what you preached, then we would be living in a perfect world, now wouldn't we?
Fuck you, Donald. Obama just made a beautiful statement, and now you've killed it before it could change some hearts.
Boring, Skip. When can I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
Okay, I have known some real sack twisters in the Marines, but these guys really do play loose with regulations.
It was pretty clear from the beginning that this mission was low priority to the company and the military. They got one ship, no backup, no crew, a noob officer in charge, and the most rowdy bunch of Marines they could find.
Vasquez and Drake definitely had something going on.
I don't blame her. He was a pretty good-looking guy. No Nostromo.
I feel like you also have to say no Nostromo if you want to say Vasquez is hot.
Are you kidding me, Don? She's a top-tier muscle mommy.
I guess you should know since you're married to Ronnie Coleman over there.
Oh, snap.
Shut the fuck up, Hudson.
Fine, I love the way Ripley bonded with the Marines using her forklift certification.
It was fun to know what her role actually was. From the last movie, it seemed like she was there to hold the door closed and press the self-destruct button.
Great setup for later as well.
Gorman being useless played right into the aliens' hands. Poor leadership and insubordination was the foundation of failure in this mission.
It made me kind of question how long this group has been together versus how long Apone has been in charge of them.
It seems like Apone wouldn't be the guy to fuck around with, but fuck around they did.
Let's not place all the blame on Apone. It was Gorman's lack of authority, and to a larger extent, Burke's intentional underestimation of the alien presence that caused such a colossal failure for the humans.
Honestly, though, these are very believable shortcomings for military units. Any veteran that served for long enough will tell you that even the slightest miscalculation from the higher-ups can cause total mayhem for the boots on the ground. Just think about how the troops felt when we pulled out of Afghanistan. Great job, by the way, Joe.
Thanks, buddy.
The fact that you didn't know I was being sarcastic is terrifying on so many levels.
Rocket ship goes whoosh.
It was nice to have a fun little bumpy ride in the ship before all the carnage.
Hicks sleeping through the drop was hilarious. Not even Joe could match that level of deep sleep.
Before the Marines got their asses kicked, they had to clear the creepy civilian compound.
So sketchy.
Although this movie is much more action-oriented, moments like this bring us right back to the dark hallways of the Nostromo in the first film.
Good thing it was only a little girl lurking in the darkness this time.
Bro, Hicks almost blasted the shit out of Newt. He seriously fired like 12 explosive rounds at her before realizing it was a defenseless child.
Sounds exactly like how cops deal with black kids.
Yikes.
But really, Newt is a fantastic character.
One of the best performances from a child actor in film history.
I believe you. You seem like an expert on the subject.
Shut up, Don. He's right. Newt was one of the most believable characters in the entire movie. Ripley becoming a surrogate mother to her was heartwarming and wholesome, especially since Ripley lost her own daughter to time.
Surviving a xenomorph infestation as a 10-year-old is pretty goddamn impressive.
That's like bringing a kid to a drag show. Unless they hide in the vents, they pretty much become one.
Descending into the fleshy alien nest was super sketchy. The Marines seemed pretty fucked from the beginning, even with all of their badass weaponry.
On top of the odds being against them, they strolled right into a spot where one stray bullet could nuke them all.
The moment Gorman figured that out, he should have pulled them out. Not all this, take everyone's mags and hope nobody shoots shit.
I'm so glad Ripley took over.
We do have to remember that Ripley would have never been able to rescue them if Burke didn't fight off Gorman when she GTA hijacked the tank thing.
She drove that thing like she stole it.
That's true. You got to give Burke credit on that one.
The Marines got their asses waxed so bad in that hive.
The worst one was when Private Frost got lit on fire and fell down the stairwell.
Pretty ironic, because like Frost is like you and fire is so...
We all understand, Joe. Don't hurt yourself.
Before you knew it, almost half the Marines were toast.
Tons of great alien combat here. You could really see how devastating a load of them would be. Sucks how this is the first and last time the Aliens movies do these kind of numbers.
The acid blood really got out of hand when the explosive rounds hit.
So sad to see Vasquez lose Drake right at the doorway like that.
Man, she was ready to turn Gorman into fajitas for that bullshit.
He was lucky he got his ass knocked out by an ammo crate.
They really poked the nest after that one.
Everything within a 100-mile radius was absolutely fucked.
They did such a good job on the xenomorph crashing the ship. All our heroes were in such despair.
It was game over, man, game over.
All they could do was take refuge in the same place where all the civilians died and or got preggers.
They took an extremely logical approach as Ripley stepped up into a leadership role with nobody of high ranking still alive or conscious.
Good thing, too. I think everyone would have offed themselves if somebody didn't tell Hudson to get his shit together.
Right. Morale wasn't the highest at this point.
Ripley whipped them right back into shape. She even figured out Burke's entire scheme immediately by just logging into a computer in the base.
And for that, he attempted to impregnate her and a little girl with alien killing machines.
Ripley probably should have expected this type of foul play after she told him she would end his entire career and throw him in jail if they all survived.
Maybe not. I still hang out with you guys and you do the exact same shit to me.
Are you going to try to fucking kill me?
Why would I do that when Father Time is going to do that for me in a couple years or less?
Good point.
You knew it was going to be bad for Burke when the other Marines figured out the entire situation.
The imposter was found dead to rights in the emergency meeting, and he really talked his way out of it anyway.
That takes some serious skill.
It was more like they had bigger fish to fry. The swarm came right past the defenses through the ceiling and floors. Really no way of stopping these things from infiltrating a location.
The last stand of the Marines was pretty short, but well fought to their credit.
Rest in peace, Hudson.
At least he died doing what he loved, talking shit.
Can we talk about how they cut the power?
Before this, I figured it was just an animal operating on instinct. After this movie, I was pretty sure these things were actually smart.
They have better cognition than you for sure.
Pretty low bar.
Right.
You've never seen an alien wander off trying to shake someone's hand that isn't even there, or say some shit like "asifuti mahafuti foot."
It's okay, bro. You had plenty of time of being below average intelligence before you declined into chimp level intelligence.
At least I'm not the same color as an orangutan.
Too bad the power plant was having a meltdown, or they may have dug in a lot better.
Bishop was a real G for crawling through the little tunnel for like a mile.
This is what happens in between Pipes and Mario.
When Bishop volunteered to go and try and remote pilot the ship, I felt confident that he wasn't bad after all.
I think we were all a bit intolerant of the artificial people.
Really?
Totally, man. When the robots come out, I'm going to bully mine with a hockey stick, so they'll feel more at home.
You're going to get a magazine shoved down your throat, and I'm going to laugh when it happens.
Burke locking in the others behind him was the last straw. He had to die.
Where the hell did he think he was going to go?
I don't know. The remaining survivors had the right idea, escaping into the vents.
Sus as fuck.
It was only sus because the aliens rely on vents like you rely on a teleprompter.
At least Gorman was honorable enough to try and save Vasquez and died while doing it.
That shit made up for everything bad he did, no lie.
All seemed lost when Newt was taken in the water.
Yeah, I was sure she was history, man.
Then Hicks went down to some acid blood. It was total chaos.
Bishop came in clutch with the scoop, and they could have just escaped right then. But Ripley knew there was still a snowball's chance in hell that she could save Newt.
One of the most badass moments in film history right here. The elevator ride down with Ripley taping guns together and preparing for a suicide mission in a nuclear power plant about to explode was a complete cinematic masterpiece.
Her arc in this movie is gold.
Ripley is a strong female character done right. She's not a Mary Sue like what Disney and modern Hollywood writers spit out like sunflower seeds. She has a strong moral base, she's a leader, and she's not afraid to do the dirty work. And most importantly, she makes logical and calculated decisions in a survival situation and never loses sight of the main goal.
Why did everyone not just copy aspects of this character to other characters in other stories?
They did, not once, but over and over again. Even in this franchise, it just never worked the same way.
That shit's down to execution. This movie did it right, and every other movie failed the majority of the time. Name one strong female character from a movie in the last 5 years. Seriously?
It's tough, man.
Can you guys even name a woman? You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Huh? What? I stopped listening when we started talking about women.
You guys have wives and a daughter and you couldn't name a single woman?
Well, you put me on the spot. I was trying to remember my wife's name. Was it Phil?
Close.
Oh, I remember. I'm married to Joe Biden, the President of the United States.
Take 3 of the white pills and 1 of the yellow pills for me, Joe.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, where were we?
In the most suspenseful part of the entire franchise.
Ah, yes. The ambiance of the emergency siren and AI voice warnings, coupled with the high possibility of death around every corner, was incredibly gripping.
My eyeballs were glued to the screen, and I'm pretty sure I didn't breathe at all for the entire descent into the nest on my first viewing.
The alien queen was a sight to behold.
To finally get a look at what was laying the eggs was exactly what I wanted to see in the sequel, and they delivered like Amazon Prime.
It was pretty clear that she was running shit too. The way she hissed at the drones to back off was like when your mom calls you by your full name.
It's pretty clear at this point that xenomorphs operate a whole lot like ants, with one queen making all the decisions and all the babies, and a bunch of workers hunting and gathering for the colony.
The only criticism I will have about this incredible last act is the fact that Ripley didn't actually need to waste all her ammo on the eggs when the entire place was going to explode in like 10 minutes.
She might have aggroed the boss fight with that one.
Crazy how the Queen could use the elevator.
That shit was beyond creepy.
You almost thought Bishop might have left and it was all over.
I never lost faith in the Milky Man.
I know the last movie faked us out when we thought it was the end, but this one was totally unexpected and glorious.
The tail through Bishop was a shock. He was the OGAI.
The Queen alien was a little funky looking at times, but overall made for a fantastic final sequence. I was satisfied with the movie as a whole before the final fight, but as Ripley walked out in the mech and spoke her iconic "get away from her, you bitch" line, I was blown away.
Forklift certification comes in clutch again.
They outdid themselves with this fight.
She kicked that thing's ass. How could you not root for her?
I have one more criticism about this final fight. How in the fuck did Ripley casually throw an armbar around a ladder and hold the full weight of an alien queen plus the vacuum of fucking space?
Come on, Donnie. Did it look cool?
It looked immaculate, but it made no sense.
I think we can overlook that and Ripley spraying the eggs as the rule of cool at work.
When you're right, you're right.
This movie was nearly perfect.
I'll agree with that. Donnie?
It's an S tier without a doubt.
Is it better than the first one?
I'm gonna say yes, but just barely.
I personally like the aliens more in a horror movie setting, but I also somehow enjoyed this action movie more. We owe James Cameron a lot.
I guess I'll be the only one that prefers the original, but the difference is microscopic.
Top tier for sure.
We should also take time to give credit to H.R. Geiger for the design of the xenomorphs.
Truly an iconic design.
Most credit should really go to Sigourney Weaver for making these two films believable and interesting from the human perspective.
Speaking of which, I have someone I'd like you guys to meet.
So who do I have to fuck to get another sequel?
Holy shit!
It's the legend herself.
How you doing, Siggy?
Just fine, Barry. I heard all the nice things you guys were saying. I'm glad you all enjoyed my movies.
Enjoyed them? I've seen them hundreds of times.
Same here, but don't get too comfortable. We're about to go over Alien 3.
Oh my fucking God, can't you just stop at these two?
Funny, that's exactly how I felt after seeing this movie.
Your historic performance in these movies made for two of the most popular and successful movies ever. What the fuck happened to 3?
It's a long, long story, boys. You better get a drink or pop an upper in Joe's case.
Is it the blue one for that, Barack?
It's the yellow one, Joe. But you just took one, don't OD.
Damn.
Can you please explain why they decided it was a good idea to kill Hicks and Newt in the fucking opening credits?
You can pretty much chalk it up to Fox and the writers throwing shit at the wall and hoping it stuck. My boy Ridley Scott dropped the film after he found out they were making an Alien versus Predator script, so nobody had any idea who was gonna direct the thing.
Seems kind of like pussy shit to me. Why didn't he give this movie a chance, regardless of what they were doing with AVP?
Well, he didn't like the Fox producers at the fuck all. It practically came to blows multiple times in Alien 1's production. You know how it is with the corporations trying to influence the artists. I tried to stop the bleeding as much as I could, but in Hollywood, no one can hear you scream.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I wouldn't want to be told what to do after I directed a certified banger.
There's a ton of films that suffered similar problems, especially lately with the great Disney overlords.
It's a huge problem for this industry. After looking all over, they finally found this young guy, David Fincher, to direct it. He was pretty cool, but the producers placed him there based on the fact that they thought they could control him. To Dave's credit, he fought them tooth and nail by the end. There were so many scripts for this movie that I genuinely had no idea what the fuck was going on. So in the middle of the chaos, I just requested for Ripley to be killed off.
Jesus fucking Christ, what did those morons at Fox even say to that?
Well, they thought I was kidding at first because I just said I want to die out of the blue. This was after the fallout with Mike Bien about Hicks dying in the intro. Could you believe that they had to pay Mike just as much for Alien 3 as they did for Aliens just for using his face?
I just don't understand how it gets to that point.
Believe me, nobody else knew either. It wasn't until like the 8th script that I got to add a few things that I wanted.
What did you ask for?
Like I said before, I wanted to die, so killing Ripley was mandatory. I also didn't want a bunch of guns in this movie like the last movie, because I wanted it more like the first film. And lastly, I wanted to fuck an alien.
I beg your pardon?
I was going through a super kinky phase, and I wanted to fuck an alien on screen.
I'm both appalled and aroused by this information.
So I guess you really didn't get anything you wanted, huh? You didn't really die? Dudes show up with guns at the end, and you didn't get to fuck the alien.
You're right with the first two, but I did totally fuck the alien in this movie.
That's disgusting. What point in the movie is this so I can totally know when to skip it?
Toward the end. It's after I found out I was preggers with a queen. Remember, I went looking for it, And you thought I was going to try and kill it, but it turns into a pipe with bugs in it. And then it appears behind me. After that, we have dirty, slimy sex on the sewer floor.
You're an inspiration.
It wasn't exactly clear that you actually banged the alien.
Fox nearly shut us down when we said we would do the alien sex scene. You know how those Republicans are about unholy fornication. But David and I did it secretly. Too bad they cut all the good bits out.
Is there a link to a deleted scene or anything so I know where to avoid it?
Sorry, Donnie. It only exists in my personal collection now.
Can I come over?
No.
Hold on, wasn't this Alien from a dog?
Yep, you could tell from the sex, only did doggy style.
Considering this information, it feels like I might have a shot, so I'm going to shoot it. Will you be the Monica to my Lewinsky?
Oh, Joe, that's so sweet, but you're not my cup of tea.
Ha ha ha! Joe got rejected, but the alien dog didn't. Eat shit, loser!
Fuck you, man.
I wouldn't be talking too much, Donnie. Barack's the only one who remains sexy to this day.
I've never been more validated in my entire life.
I would totally be flirting with you right now if it weren't for my fear of Michelle. I'd take on another alien queen before I fuck with that bitch.
Facts.
Well, we know this movie had tons of issues in production, but where does it land on this tier list?
There were a few scenes that I really liked, mostly having to do with Tywin Lannister.
Charles Dance is a class act.
I did Charles before it was cool.
The other dude, Dylan, did pretty well too.
He was cool, great speech from him toward the end. It was just hard to enjoy anything because I was honestly pissed off for the entire movie for killing Hicks and Newt within the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, the rest of the story seemed pretty bleak. The whole point of the feel-good ending from the last movie was that Newt was saved against all odds. To kill her off instantly like that undermines the greatness of the last movie.
Plus, she was really cute.
Get away from her, you bitch!
I wasn't necessarily into the prison planet. It seemed like the stakes were lowered. I was thinking more about which prisoner did what rather than hoping they would all make it out okay.
I kind of agree with you. The best part of any prisoner's character development was Charles after Ripley banged him.
Too bad he was killed instantly after his backstory was revealed.
Pretty odd writing choice there.
Facts, I was hoping to get more time with him on screen, but you could tell he was happy to be done with it.
Overall, I like the fact that they went back to basics and tried more of a horror setting like the first movie. But I didn't find myself scared like the first film or even the second film at times.
I didn't get scared even once. I think it had something to do with the quality of the alien.
That thing looked like shit.
The practical alien in the suit was fine, but the CGI alien doesn't hold up whatsoever, and they used it a ton in this movie.
It was pretty disappointing once I saw the CGI. It really didn't even look like the practical alien we used. Maybe it could have been a little better if we weren't paying actors that didn't even show up in the movie.
I think it had more to do with directing on this particular front. If your CGI sucks, then you should not be holding shots on it for so long.
I also didn't like the look of this movie as a whole. The last two had realistic spaceship sets, while this movie looked like one big sewer.
It's tough to make a film visually pleasing when the main three colors you're seeing are shit brown, piss yellow, and snot green.
The last act had some cool stuff here and there, and the prisoners were almost funny from time to time.
The boys were a lot funnier on set than on screen.
The kill on the alien was pretty cool and provided the classic, it's not over yet, fake out.
The alien, exploding like a hot glass touching ice-cold water, was satisfying but lacked logic.
It was pretty standard. I wanted to see something a little different.
Oh, trust me, we all did too.
Wayland coming in at the end and you sacrificing yourself to kill the alien queen so he couldn't use it was actually pretty dope.
Since your death was mandatory, that was well done, mostly due to your performance.
Honestly, you and Charles Dance carry this movie out of F tier with great acting, but literally everything else is a complete failure.
I appreciate it, fellas. It's honestly F tier in my mind, and I know Dave would say the same.
Usually the director has a lot to do with a film's failure, but in this case, the director wasn't really the issue. Writing and a power struggle with Fox really ruined this movie. D tier is fine.
I'm glad we can all agree on that.
Okay, now the last of the Ripley alien movies, Resurrection.
This was so fun to make. A huge improvement from the last production. Fox actually learned its lesson with the last one. They had this freak show script and got a funny young French director, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, to run it. JP quickly became a great friend, and we agreed on a lot of things I wanted for the movie.
How the hell did they get you to come back after that stinker?
Well, I was super reluctant, but then I read the script. I found it funny and sexy and right up my alley. Plus, I was feeling myself after I was hitting the gym heavy around then.
You were looking peak attractive at this point. The Walter White look kind of made us all forget you were a dime piece.
You were very attractive and extremely good at basketball.
Fuck yeah, I was. It took me weeks of practice to sink that no-looker.
Wait, you actually made that shot? I figured it was edited.
Oh, I made that shit easy. 4th take. Ron Perlman never looked at me the same way again.
You should do celebrity basketball.
I don't think the internet could handle me dunking on Justin Bieber's head.
Bro, imagine Kevin Hart trying to guard you.
You could have honestly made it in the WNBA.
I thought about it, but then I remembered nobody watches that shit.
Apparently we watch it enough to trade a known war criminal and arms dealer to Russia for a dumb bitch that thinks bringing weed into a foreign country is a good idea. Thanks, Joe.
We had to release her. All she did was toke a little oil to recover, and she's supposed to be in a Russian jail for that?
What about the tens of thousands of people, mostly minorities, that are in U.S. prison systems right now just for weed? You gonna release them too?
Let's get back to the movie.
You're fucking insufferable.
I didn't see you signing any executive orders to free the stoners.
Vote for me, and I'll become the Moses of marijuana. Let my people grow.
Let's take a moment and talk about the cast of this movie. You got Siggy with Ron Perlman, Winona Ryder, and even a young Tuco Salamanca.
This is definitely the youngest I've ever seen Raymond Cruz on screen.
Winona is an amazing actor, and it was fun to work with her.
Making her a rogue synthetic was pretty baller.
The Bounty Hunters made for a fun group. You gotta love a wholesome cripple pirate.
Gary Dourdan, as the mechanical gunslinger, was pretty good too.
The rest of the cast is kind of lackluster, but more big names than all the previous movies.
Bro, what the fuck was the leader mercenary guy? He sounded like he just finished his fourth pack of cigarettes and was macking on the hot chick's feet. What was his name again?
I don't know. You have Google, don't you?
You worked with him for a pretty long time. Was he that forgettable?
Apparently. I knew his voice more than his name.
It's okay. He doesn't last very long in this movie anyway.
This time around, the villain is a dude that's been paid by the government to run this deep space mad science project.
Oftentimes, this is the type of villain people got to deal with in real life, but they just don't know.
There were a couple more antagonists, like the pervy scientist and Colonel Sanders, but they are taken care of fast.
How did you all know I wasn't an antagonist? I was literally part xenomorph.
You were clearly the most innocent being on the ship. Even if you did have some xeno in you, you could have killed Ron Perlman multiple times and didn't.
That takes inhuman restraint.
Fuck you, Donnie. Ron was my on-set bestie.
I enjoyed the plot. Paying mercenaries to bring you more hosts for the Alien Project is definitely something they would need.
The start of the plot was interesting to be sure, plus the aliens get going pretty quickly. We even see the Queen within a few moments of the start.
The way the aliens broke out was pretty smart. Kill one drone and you can free the rest.
Too bad the second the aliens break out, the logic in this film spirals into cringe for the rest of the movie.
You better not be talking about my grandkid.
Bro, what the fuck is even that?
It's a hybrid of me and an alien queen.
It looks completely fucking disgusting. It has a pussy not even Dawn could grab.
If you think that's bad, Google Alien Resurrection Newborn Original.
Are you fucking kidding? It has a goddamn pidge anus.
You bet your orange ass it did. It was glorious. Happy Pride Month.
Wait, what? Let me see. Oh my fucking God.
Smash.
Obama, which pill makes him less fucked in the head?
They're still working on that one.
Siggy, you two almost banged this abomination and it was your fucking grandkid.
This Ripley had literally no boundaries.
Don't play innocent Sigourney. We all know by now you're actually the one instigating the kinky shit. You're a certified sexual deviant.
Takes one to know one.
Okay, you caught me. I don't even know why I try to hide it anymore. I'm turned on by the aliens.
What exactly about the aliens gets you off?
I think I have this thing where the more fucked up it is, the more I like it.
Forbidden fruit.
Yikes, I thought this was a movie review, not the kink sharing hour.
Maybe you should be a little more sex positive, Donnie.
There is such a thing as being too sex positive, wouldn't you say?
No.
This is a slippery slope, Joe. He's right.
That's bullshit. Tell him, Siggy.
You gotta draw the line somewhere.
Thank you.
Oh, come on. You fucked an alien dog and nearly your fleshy alien grandchild.
Man.
We're moving on, Joe. Deal with it or go into horny timeout.
In space, nobody can hear you cream.
This last act contained one of my favorite moments of the franchise.
The mutant naked Ripley clones?
No, idiot, although that scene was something.
That was my favorite scene for sure.
I figured it would have been when you French kissed your Dark Souls boss grandkid, but your performance in that scene was peak acting in this movie.
True. Again, you're an actual legend for this franchise.
I appreciate it so much. I owe my whole career to these films, and it's wonderful to hear people enjoyed my role in making them.
I was actually talking about the scene where two aliens chased the group in the underwater kitchen.
That was pretty sweet. I liked how Ripley was just as comfortable in the water as the Xenos.
I'm pretty sure I could breathe underwater.
The grenade launcher killing one of the aliens was easily the best shot of the film.
The next scene is rather odd. The big wig evil guy gets to the top of the ladder first somehow and convinces Winona to give him her gun, and then immediately shoots her with it.
That shit was brain dead.
They then have more issues when Space Dreads basically sacrifices himself for absolutely nothing, since the alien that was holding him was fucking dead already.
Good thing Winona saved the day and miraculously survived.
It was finally revealed that Winona was the android. Pretty cool twist.
I couldn't help but finger her milky hole.
Hell yeah.
Can we talk about the worst jump scare in the franchise? The last dude from the cargo with an alien inside him screamed at the top of his lungs, and it was totally cheap and not even scary.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Plus, it was the only part of the movie that even gave me a jump, which was disappointing. A far cry from the original.
This Prego guy was a terrible plot point. I'd rather have just seen the group deal with the alien that was inside him.
For having more than 12 aliens plus a queen on board the ship, this movie is surprisingly lacking in aliens.
I can respect that. The cast might have been too big for its own good.
Even the payoff for the dude was trash. Antagonist guy tries to hold Winona hostage, and this dude runs at him while getting shot and chest bursting.
Then he kills the dude with the chest burster. The physics of that made no sense whatsoever.
Pretty corny. Why didn't they just have Siggy kill him? She deserved it for what he did to her.
Thanks, Joe. I've often wondered that myself.
This whole last act was too much. Between the questionable decisions and the newborn cringe, it drags this movie down a fair bit.
Overall, I think this was a very fun, bad movie.
I don't know what you're on about. This movie was great.
I'm thinking C tier for this one. A step forward from the last film.
No way, Donnie. It's at least B tier.
What do you think, Ripley?
While I enjoy Joe's sentiment, this wasn't the greatest film from a critical perspective. It was definitely a blast to make, but I won't pretend it's as good as the first two. C tier is fair.
Great take. A few different writing choices, and it would have been a lot better.
Okay, cool, and now we're on to the Ridley Scott prequels.
All right, boys, I'm going to take my leave. Ridley Scott is my homie, but I'm feeling pretty emotionally drained after reliving Alien 3.
That's understandable.
I really appreciate you stopping by. It wouldn't be an Alien tier list without you.
Agreed. You're a true icon to the genre.
Thank you for validating all my sexual fantasies.
You're very welcome. It was a blast. Good luck on the rest of the movies, guys. Ripley out.
Boy, she is something, isn't she?
She's the best thing about all 4 movies, in my opinion. Even better than the Xenomorphs.
Sad that we probably won't see another Alien movie starring her unless we can do some cool AI shit.
That should be fun. I'd love to see the sequel that we deserved after Aliens rather than the dumpster fire that was Alien 3.
For now, all we have is the prequels. Let's start with the first one. How do we feel about Prometheus?
It feels like somebody wrote this movie on a bad trip.
I felt a mix of emotions after watching it, but mainly nauseous. Like when you go on a roller coaster too many times in a row.
Well, those comments seem pretty negative. Did y'all really not like the movie?
It wasn't the worst, fairly thought-provoking and an incredibly great-looking movie. The plot and pacing are flimsy, though.
I generally liked the movie. It gave us tons of cool new aliens and lore.
That's more of what I was thinking. I was very impressed by the world building, and the visuals were godly.
A bunch of fluff, if you ask me. Ridley Scott is a great director, but he likes CGI more than Biden likes ice cream.
Who the fuck cares? The CGI in this movie was fire.
Yeah, true, but I love to see practical effects whenever possible.
I didn't have any issues with the way this film looks. It was also highly thought-provoking by focusing on higher themes like the origin of the human race.
I thought we were monkeys.
You have a point, Joe. They failed to make the connection between the engineers and the fossil record. That one snarky science dude was the only one that questioned it. And Shaw just says, I choose to believe it, and moved on.
I'll agree with that. We share 99% of our DNA with chimps. Are they saying the engineers also made chimps?
It would have made a lot more sense if an engineer just fucked a monkey in the intro and called it a day.
See, this is the problem with rewriting science that we already know about. To fit the plot of your movie, it can be fine as an excuse for one plot point or another, but to base the entire movie off it was a mistake.
Yeah, that's fair. Still a very introspective movie with a rich atmosphere and believable story.
I kind of just wanted to know more about the xenomorphs. They could have easily made it more about this alien species making biological weapons and less about humans being engineers.
The characters are pretty mid, other than David.
That's facts. David is an amazing character, and he represents the dangers and potential of AI very well.
He was complex and had lots of potential, yet a little too evil in my book. He was doing all this sus shit right out in the open, and nobody ever called him on it.
His motivations were questionable at times, but at the end of the day, Michael Fassbender did an incredible job.
Michael Stylebender is the Giga Chad of acting, but but the rest of the cast isn't on his level.
If you're talking about my brother Idris right now, then I'm going to give you these hands.
He was fine, but it felt like he was just there to fuck Samus and be the hero at the end.
Ms. Vickers was a super hot space babe.
You were pretty on point with the Samus comparison, Donnie. Too bad she's super mean to everyone, especially David.
I would expect that it's her that made David so fucked up.
You should be able to do whatever you want to an AI without it going insane. If it does, then it's defective.
I think you're missing the point. AI has the potential to be violent and villainous if its creators introduce those tendencies. This movie explores that idea pretty well.
My problems weren't necessarily with David, but more with the characters, plot, and pacing. Characters like Shaw were mid at best.
I liked her. She reminded me of Ripley a little.
I knew the Ripley comparison would happen, but Elizabeth Shaw has nothing but pure constitution over Ripley. Her performance was lackluster at times, and her character made stupid decisions, almost as bad as her alien STD husband.
I disagree. Her performance during the surgery scene was top-notch.
Squidward was a fine young man.
Don't get me started on that shit. She removes the creature and then just casually leaves it and takes a stroll around the ship, but she didn't think to tell anyone that there's a freaky alien in Vickers' room.
She most likely didn't bother since Samus set her boyfriend on fire.
That could be it, but it doesn't seem like the writers were trying to say that.
I didn't really like that dude. He has worms crawling out of his eyeballs, and he acts like everything's A-okay until he's literally disintegrating.
There was a lack of concern for people just taking helmets off and exposing themselves to whatever the fuck.
People in these types of movies have a weird obsession with taking their helmets off the first possible second they think they can.
Things go really bad in the Engineer Temple Lab thing.
You just knew the confrontational stoner and the nerd getting stuck in the temple would result in their deaths.
How do we feel about the snake-looking aliens?
Nerd dude was such an idiot for fucking around with that thing. It looked exactly like a cobra, and he didn't suspect it was dangerous.
The fact that it regenerated its head in the blink of an eye made me think this thing could be more dangerous than a xenomorph.
It was kind of cool when it broke that nerd's arm, but at the same time, it should have probably died to the knife cutting its head off. It seems a little too dangerous considering it can turn humans into troll-killing machines.
All these things were absolutely broken, especially the black goo.
Oh boy, microscopic xenomorphs. Has there ever been a less interesting idea in an alien movie?
It fits with biological weapons. Definitely the most efficient way of killing many people.
That's true. Just ask China. They could probably whip something up just like this from a lab in Wuhan.
What about the engineers? Did you like them?
I didn't really like the fact that they were humans, like I mentioned, but the design was pretty cool.
I liked when they microwaved the first one's head.
They really scaled up the grossness to new and interesting levels. I'll give them that.
The final act is pretty nuts.
Nuts is being generous. It's like everybody lost their minds.
David being clearly evil, Walt Disney unfreezing and trying to talk to the engineer, and Dr. Shaw struggling to do anything with post-surgery pain while nobody cared made for a confusing last act.
Imagine taking a 2,000-year nap, and the first thing you wake up to is some alien bitch you don't know nagging you.
It was pretty unsurprising that the engineer attacked immediately. It's not like this planet has been the most hospitable up until now.
I would have found it far more interesting if he talked to them.
Big missed opportunity there.
That's an understatement. When it's all said and done, there are way more questions left unanswered from this movie than an Alien one. It's like, we need a prequel to explain all the shit in this prequel.
At least we get a triumphant finale with Idris taking down the alien ship and saving Earth.
How did we know for sure that he was going to Earth? Maybe he was just going home.
The CGI ships crashing was so beautiful, I got hard.
The death of Samus was so fucking dumb. She could have run 15 feet to the side and avoided the collapsing ship, but instead she ran the wrong way and got crushed like an idiot.
Squidward was a lot bigger than he was an hour earlier. Was there a vault of Krabby Patties in there or something?
Good thing Shaw had a monster big enough to kill the engineer stashed away.
Shaw used a summons to kill the boss. Totally maidenless behavior.
It was kind of funny how David was just a head giving Shaw call-outs.
He's on you. He's coming. He's coming. He's gonna come.
The fact that she trusted him was pretty ludicrous.
Shaw's genius shows itself again. Not like David was exhibiting signs of psychotic behavior or anything. She deserved whatever horrors David did to her after this movie for being that stupid.
Final verdict?
C tier, mid at best.
Come on, Donnie, it was actually a pretty unreal movie.
It had a ton of issues, definitely not great.
Maybe it's not high tier, but I think it was an enjoyable film. I'm sitting firmly at B tier.
I think that's fair.
Too high. Not a lot of enjoyable characters.
Maybe it's a low B tier, but I still think it's over C tier.
I'm with you, Brock.
Sheesh.
Okay, cool. What about the sequel to the prequel that's still a prequel? Alien Covenant.
This one far exceeded my expectations.
Wow, Donnie, you really liked this movie?
No, I hated it. I didn't think characters could get any dumber than in Prometheus, but the characters in this movie break new ground with their terrible decisions. I wholeheartedly believe that even Joe would have made better choices than anyone in this movie did.
You guys have been low-barring me all video, and it's bullshit. I'm smarter than anyone in this movie by far.
Unfortunately, I agree. However, it is worth mentioning that circumstance took their leadership before the story even began.
Why James Franco was cast as the character to die in the first 5 seconds will puzzle me forever. Imagine if he was actually alive for the events. The experience might have been far better.
Yet again, Michael the Last Fassbender is the best character by a mile. I thoroughly enjoy that he plays two different characters in this.
He's arguably the only reason to watch this movie, unless you have a gore fetish.
Well, at least we get some Danny McBride.
Yeah, we can all agree that Danny McBride is pretty awesome.
Okay, sure. But he's wasted alongside all these other terrible performances. Daniels is the worst lead protagonist in the entire franchise, and the Christian backup captain was awful as well. They started the story trying to have a cry session for James Franco, but this isn't fucking Up. This is an alien movie.
I couldn't tell you. I slept through all those scenes. I knew from the beginning this wasn't gonna be the greatest plot from the human side of things. Better off fast-forwarding to the monsters.
I feel like that you're not really being fair. The writing was what made them cringy. The performances are pretty good.
You might be right, but it still tears this movie down. When the human characters aren't even remotely interesting, it's difficult for me not to root for the fucking monsters.
I'm always rooting for the monsters. Therefore, this movie was a banger.
In any case, the plot was cool, at least for the first act.
Boring, Skip. Take me home, Old Country Road.
I think it's worth checking out why John Denver is playing on some random planet, but I was with Ripley 3.0 on just ignoring it. Colonizers should mind their own business.
Good thing our man of God put her back in her fucking place right after her husband burned to death.
Harsh.
These people straight up walked off the ship without helmets on. I'm so fucking done.
Why does everyone hate helmets so much?
Not even a fucking COVID mask.
And wow, big surprise, 2 crew members get sick with the facehugger disease made by the Chinese engineers.
How did we feel about the neomorphs?
The design was pretty cool. I didn't like them more than a classic xenomorph design whatsoever. I also had a problem with them being hyper-aggressive from birth.
When St. Peter's wife brought the sick dude back on board, it was just one thing after another. A fucking shit snowball.
Worst scene in the entire movie. 2 full-grown adult women got mixtaped by an alien baby. How many times did these 2 girls slip and fall over during this sequence? Joe has better balance on a fucking bicycle.
Way better. I only fell once, these hoes tripping.
You would think that the pilot would have an idea where not to aim the shotgun in the ship.
That ship lit up like a dairy farm. Ferris was the dumbest character in the entire movie. Her quarantine protocols made about as much sense as Fauci's.
Can you tell me why Ridley Scott loves burning people in front of their loved ones so much? It's been like 3 times now.
It's much too overplayed. I didn't really care about any of the burned characters either, so it was pretty ineffective every time.
They didn't even give the crew time to breathe. The alien onslaught was relentless. Good thing David came through to save them.
He was probably saving the neomorph from the people, honestly. What a good dad.
The neomorphs grew way too fast. It feels like the writers were trying to up the ante with the monsters rather than write a cohesive story.
They did pretty well on the David world building, though. The cutscene was crazy. The fact that he killed the engineers was intriguing as well.
David teaching Walter flutes was fun. It reminded me of learning Zelda songs.
Michael Fassfinger fingering himself was an interesting scene, but I forgot I was watching an alien movie along the way.
Of course, the second there's nowhere to go, all the characters start making terrible decisions, like going for a stroll alone and washing wounds in a pool of random water.
Orem said, don't go too far. And that bitch went to the bottom of the goddamn catacombs to get eaten by the neomorph.
At least Orem killed the thing, so he isn't entirely useless. But then he allows David to explain his entire plan and lead him into a trap to get face-hugged. 200 IQ.
Why was Orem's death and xenomorph birth equally as cute and heartwarming as it was disgusting?
Who cares? I love rock'em sock'em robots.
The AI fight was amazing. It represents super strength AI fighting with calculated movements very well.
Rogan would really enjoy that fight. I'm gonna text it to him.
I also really liked how they left it ambiguous.
It was honestly pretty obvious that David made the swap from the shots and his mannerisms.
Holy shit, did this xenomorph look amazing.
It was pretty cool, huh? I think we needed to see more of it. There was originally a scene that didn't make the cut where the xenomorph would kill a neomorph. We were desperately needing a scene like that.
At least there was a final surprise fight like the OG Alien movies.
Too bad this one kind of sucked. There wasn't anything really special about it besides Xenovision.
The real twist was, of course, David winning in the end.
It's what I wanted. Great ending. Finally a film with the balls to make the bad guy win.
Admittedly, I was a little impressed with the end and the setup for a sequel, but it doesn't really look like it's going to get one. This movie was mid, and nobody is rushing to make another one.
No way, Don. This movie was great.
Fucking mid.
I'll have to agree with Trump, which hurts, but I can't ignore the issues of this film. C tier is good.
It's lucky to be as high as C, to be honest. It's an amazing looking dumpster fire.
You guys are a couple of jaded assholes.
Only because I'm forced to watch garbage movies every year. Modern movies are so hit or miss, and mostly miss.
Is it over Resurrection?
Not even over Resurrection, and that movie barely made it into C.
I'm with you, bro.
I totally disagree.
Sucks how democracy works, huh?
All right, boys, that's the last Alien movie. Let's take a trip down memory lane and discuss Predator 1.
Hell yeah, this is the ultimate dude movie.
That's true, Joe. This is the movie to invite all the bros over to watch.
What's up, fellas?
Hey, George, we're doing Aliens and Predator movies.
Oh, fuck yeah. Let me see. Where are we? Okay, it looks like you're through all the Alien films. Did we just get started with Predator?
Exactly.
I am so fucking hyped. Alien movies are fine, but the Predator movies are goated.
Fuck you. Xenomorphs clap predators.
Only in the worst film in the franchise.
Guys, we're doing Predator 1 first.
Are you really going to say this movie is bad, Joe?
I wouldn't dare. I was just saying it's one of the most legendary movies ever.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't think there's any issues with Predator 1. The practical effects and fantastic character performance makes this movie stand out. A great change of pace from the last couple of movies we covered.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in his heyday is always a sight to see.
Watch how you say that. Carl Weathers was pretty legendary, too.
The friendly competition between these two alpha males was fucking peak.
Kind of like you and I.
Please, Joe, you look like you've been pushing pencils your entire fucking life.
And you look like you've been pushing Twinkies down your throat for just as long.
The muscular definition in that shot will live on forever.
The side characters got serious power, too. Mac and Billy were instant classics.
I enjoyed the dude with the pussy jokes.
I, for one, love the sexual Tyrannosaurus that is Jesse Ventura as Blaine. I know him personally. That dude is crazy.
What's he like?
Well, he's kind of like the drunkest and most violent dude in an entire frat. He has both asked me to make him my VP and threatened my life.
Sounds like a real gentleman.
He's fucking insane, but it's fun to watch him from very far away.
That's probably why Jungle Hunter shot him from a distance.
Jungle Hunter is what I call my son when he's on vacation.
I loved Billy. Unfortunate that it was a white dude appropriating Native American culture.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, man, maybe it was tough to find a Native American to play Billy because most of them are either dead or living in poverty. Not a lot of actors coming out of that.
I even know a Native American. They shouldn't be that hard to find.
Elizabeth Warren doesn't count, Joe.
Oh.
Regardless, he represents the Native American connection with nature very well. He physically felt the presence of something unnatural the entire time the group is being stalked.
Before all that, the squad makes their move on the cartel in the jungle.
It was cool how they made the connection to Stranger Things by finding the body of Jim Hopper.
Let's stop connecting universes. Fox already fucked up once.
If we made more attacks with super soldiers on the cartel like this, maybe fewer criminals and loads of fentanyl would be pouring into the country.
Facts, I think a bunch of Arnolds could totally destroy the cartel.
There was an unprecedented amount of bullets being sprayed in this movie. This assault was basically 5 minutes of shooting and explosions.
You said that as if it wasn't positive, so I'm going to have to call you a pussy.
Get him, George.
I'm actually with these dirty Republicans this time, Barry. I think the Second Amendment should be destroyed, but it's fine to embellish the gunfire in an 80s action movie.
Whatever.
You'll never take my guns, liberal pansy. Your pussy is probably as big as a house.
I'd love a little pussy.
I really like how some drama happened between Dutch and Dylan after the assault.
My favorite part of the movie was Mac eyeing Dylan the entire time.
Sure, the characters were great, but the execution of the Predator was the best part.
The slow roll of information leading up to the Predator did wonders for the suspense.
The Spanish girl was great for that, too.
Mommy.
She was kind of just there to look hot and scared, to be honest.
It was awesome to see how the Predator picked off the squad one by one. Its ability to slip in and out was even better than that of the Xenomorph.
The Predator's unique technology was extremely hard to counter.
Plus, he was even bigger than Arnie.
He might be taller, but the Predator could not match the pure muscular definition of Mr. Olympia.
When Blaine went down to the plasma launcher, you knew everyone was gonna die.
Mac's reaction to Blaine's death and vengeance toward the Predator was genuinely intense. You could see the mental hoops the actor was going through to portray that.
I'll agree with you there. It was also so smart to only show small glimpses of the Predator until the final act. It's something that the Alien movies also did very well until the recent films.
The Predator's killing spree was unstoppable, even through better tactics, traps, and the spraying of thousands of bullets blindly.
The squad spraying into the jungle is exactly how Ukraine is fighting the Russians. Especially since we send them $1 billion care package twice a fucking month.
Fuck yeah. Whatever my bro Zelensky wants, he can get it.
You should probably say no, Nostromo.
The kill on Dylan was my favorite. The severed arm still shooting the MP5 as the Predator closed in to finish the job with the wrist blade was unbelievable.
He swept up the crew pretty quick. Mac went down in stealth mode, and Billy had an off-screen duel with him that lasted about 3 seconds.
I wish I saw Billy put up a good fight, but it was certainly more realistic that he was more of a distraction.
Dances with Yautja.
He was barely a distraction. Preddy caught up to them and killed Poncho pretty quick. Then Arnold gets his gun blown up, prompting the most iconic line in any film from that era.
Get to the chopper.
That's exactly what you said when they raided Epstein's Island.
Dutch escaping the Predator down the waterfall was cool, but him hiding from thermal vision with the mud had me on the edge of my fucking seat in theaters.
Tons of really creative stuff in this movie. The writing was very good.
The final battle between Dutch and the Predator was so fucking hype.
Arnie is an actual gigachad. The George of the Jungle scream to challenge the Predator made me feel some type of way.
That shit was badass. I did the same thing out of the window of the Oval Office after I beat Donnie in the election.
Fuck you.
The final reveal of the Predator's face was definitely worth the wait.
Stan Winston burned himself into history with this phenomenal design.
It was perfectly alien, which was awesome to see since the Predator resembles a man with the helmet on.
The final blow was pretty sweet.
We failed to mention the music. The score was perfect for the story.
Right, Barack, I still bump this soundtrack from time to time, reminiscent.
So where are we ranking this one, boys? Spoiler alert, this is a trick question.
It's clearly S tier.
No doubt.
That much is obvious. The better question is, where does it land in S tier compared to Alien and Aliens?
Right to the top.
Right to the bottom, George.
Fuck you, Predator is the best movie on this list.
I don't agree. Alien and Aliens are better films. There is some campy stuff and dumb action in this movie that the other two movies don't have.
Alien movies are just a bit better settings, and better effects.
I think you're fucking lost. Take your meds.
I already did. Right?
I hate to agree with liberals, but I'm gonna have to put Predator just slightly behind Alien. I feel like I must say that it's not a big difference whatsoever. All three of these films are titans of the industry and have made a huge impact on cinema.
This is bullshit. A bunch of slack-jawed maggots around here.
Don't be mean to the gays. Let's move on to Predator 2.
Severe step down from Predator.
Severe is a harsh word choice, Donnie. This film had a lot going for it.
I really didn't like going from a beautiful jungle setting to the slums of LA. It looked disgusting.
Maybe there would be less slums and homeless if these cities weren't managed by Democratic leadership.
Sheesh.
Thanks, Donnie. Way to play the blame game and ignore any other shit that would add to the problems in that region.
At least it's not quite as bad as it is in this movie. The streets were a straight war zone.
Danny Glover is a good protagonist.
I agree, George. He's funny and yet an imposing figure in a clearly difficult situation.
Not as good as Arnie in the first one.
Well, it's tough to back that up. He does pretty well.
Gary Busey plays a pretty interesting character also.
Good old Gary. He was probably huffing handfuls of cocaine in his trailer before working this film.
My favorite douchebag Hudson is back.
Cast was pretty good, not the greatest. Maria's a great female lead.
Meh, more of a side character again, like most of the women in these movies.
She put Hudson's balls in a vice grip and it was fantastic.
The plot was fine. LA during riots and gang wars is a lot more hostile than the jungle.
This sequel was a welcome addition to the franchise. It ups the scale of violence and death by the Predator while also teaching us way more about Yautja beyond the killing.
There are a lot of unique set pieces, and the new Predator tech was highly epic.
I love the extendo spear, net gun, and the frisbee of death.
This particular Predator was even more badass than the last one. He takes on the boss Jamaican gangster with ease.
The wall of trophies, including the xenomorph skull, show just how insanely strong this Predator is. There is even a skull of an alien T-Rex or some shit up there, too. Gets you thinking how long the Predators have been at this.
City Hunter is dope. The shot where he's struck by lightning while roaring down on the people of Los Angeles has to be the best shot of the whole franchise.
City Hunter is what I call my son when he's chasing tail in Miami.
To find ourselves in so many cool scenes where the Predator unleashes absolute carnage made for a thrilling experience.
You got the penthouse, the meat freezer, the subway. So many awesome scenes with nothing held back.
Through the carnage, you start to pick up certain things that make the Predator a lot more interesting. It was established in the first film that the Predator wouldn't kill Anna based on the fact that she didn't pose a threat. In this film, the harmless prostitute was also left alone, but the real development was when he left Maria alive, regardless of the threat she posed, because she was pregnant. I think you Democrats could learn a thing or two from the Yautja. Even this ruthless predator is pro-life.
You've really changed my mind.
Speaking of killing babies, my dude Hudson can never survive a fucking movie.
The train scene is a great example of why the Second Amendment is great.
Those gangsters would have been absolutely porked if the Predator didn't decide to turn the train into a slaughterhouse anyway.
Even Granny was packing heat.
What sucks about this movie is that there's a little bit too much violence. None of the characters seemed very developed. And it felt like the entire plot was just an excuse to get the Predator in interesting situations for killing.
That's true, but at least it's in the name of entertainment. Does the job.
I couldn't agree more, Donnie.
The last arc is pretty fun, at least.
Chasing the injured Predator around the LA rooftops while he camps and heals was satisfying.
Hawkins gets the better of him when he unhands that ugly motherfucker with his own death frisbee.
I loved when the Predator busts out of the bathroom after healing like he's the fucking Kool-Aid man.
The relentless pursuit from Hawkins gave this Predator a real taste of his own medicine.
Dude even pussies out back to his ship for an ambush.
I am Bush.
Uh-oh, is the dementia bug getting you too?
I was making a joke. You're the only one we have to be concerned about.
The final fight is okay. The Predator probably should have got Hawkins with his wrist gauntlet as he was being sawed in half by the frisbee. Dude kind of just screamed, then died. A little anticlimactic.
Come on, bro. Seeing Hawkins get the kill was worth the wait.
True, plus the real ending was getting to see the other Predators and having a real sportsmanship moment.
That shit was great to add to the lore of Predators. You love to see it.
It was hilarious that they were cool enough to admit one of their own was bested, but also salty enough to blast off the planet and almost kill Hawkins on takeoff.
My dude needed some lotion. He was ashy as fuck.
They blew the black right off him.
God, this movie was amazing.
I wouldn't quite say amazing, pretty good, though.
Your offhanded comments have gone too far this time, Barack. Put some respect on this movie's name.
I'd rate it a solid mid to high B tier.
That's fair.
Y'all are smoking some bathroom Predator meth. It's S tier all day. Fucking long.
Now, George, you seem pretty uptight. Do you want some ganja, man?
You're just making my point. Donnie, tell him what's what.
George, don't hate me, but I think to say this movie even makes it to a tier is a reach.
I'm gonna 9/11 Trump Tower.
Jesus fucking Christ, George.
Yikes. To be fair, this movie wasn't very well received back when it released because of the lack of Arnie. Fox yet again made budget cuts to save money, which severely impacted the bottom line. It didn't do the best at the box office, leading to an absence of Predator movies for a generation.
Fox is one ugly motherfucker.
I can at least agree with that, Joe. They almost killed this franchise with AVP.
Like hell they did.
Boys, it's not time yet. Predator movies first. Do we rank Predator 2 over Prometheus?
I think so.
Definitely.
This shouldn't even be a question. I thought Prometheus was an empty CGI orgy. I'd go C tier with that one.
I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that.
We've already covered it. Okay, how about the third installment of the Predator movies, Predators?
Super dumb name. It worked with Aliens because it was the second installment with a ton more of them, but we already saw a bunch of Predators in Predator 2.
You're already criticizing the movie at the fucking title.
Are you too much of a fanboy to admit it's a dumb name?
It's whatever. Who cares?
The answer is yes, Trump.
No fucking way, bro. I bet y'all didn't put this microscope on the alien movies.
Calm down, George. I haven't said shit about the movie yet. Here's one for you. This is my favorite Predator movie.
Whoa.
That's fucking based, bro. I don't agree, but that kind of spunk is impressive. I forgive you. Trump Tower is spared.
All rejoice.
I kind of wanted to see it go.
I couldn't agree with it being over the original, but it is actually a slept-on film.
It sucks that Arnie wouldn't return as Dutch, but Adrian Brody has a very good performance for the most part.
He does well. It helps that the casting surrounding him is all perfect. Oh, shit, besides one.
The convict guy played by everyone's favorite racist actor?
No.
Who, the Russian?
Nah, Nikolai was a perfect Russian. Spray a minigun first and ask questions later. It was Eric Foreman, the murderer dumbass, that I had an issue with.
Truly cannot stand when people cast Topher Grace as an antagonist. That 70s show has ruined any chance of me taking his character seriously.
He wasn't the best in Spider-Man 3 as Venom either.
Tom Hardy folds him. I was waiting for one of the super predators to unmask and reveal Red Foreman as Eric screams.
Yeah, admittedly not great, but you do get fucking Machete for the early part of this movie.
There's so much to like about this cast. The setting is also the best of all Predator movies. It echoed the lush jungle from the first film while adding the twist of it being an alien planet turned game reserve.
Everybody being dropped in was pretty baller. At first, they don't trust each other, but quickly find out that their situation is larger than any human beef.
Do predators have parachutes? They all dropped in on parachutes, and one guy's chute didn't open. Are predators bad at packing parachutes?
Reasonable questions, to be honest.
So, one predator accidentally folded the chute wrong and some dude died. Mistakes happen.
Sad to see Machete go out so early, but the trap that the predators set with his body was fire.
The weird spiky predator dogs attacking the crew was fun. Really showcased each person's skill set, as well as some never-before-seen aliens.
They soak up bullets pretty good. Reminds me of shooting wild boar in Texas from the chopper.
You have the most American hobbies. It's wild. You might as well be a barbecue judge or a bald eagle tamer.
I do know my way around a smoker.
The predator camp looks like a great place to have a kegger.
I'd love to go to a predator kegger, trading hunting stories and showing off trophies.
Seeing the OG predator strung up like that was sad.
Brody using the crew as bait to ambush the super predators made me respect his character much more, even if it hurt his chances with the hot sniper lady.
Wild how Mombasa got triple speared. Kind of makes you wonder if all three predators wanted to kill the same guy or if they were just fucking around.
This whole super predator thing was kind of cool, but also whack. OG predator is cool enough.
I thought the super predators were pretty cool from a lore perspective. It just seems like a different race of Yautja in a blood feud with the OG predators.
True, but the way they're explained by Lawrence Fishburne makes it sound like these predators are way better than the original predators, going as far as to say they are dogs while the super predators are wolves by comparison.
I hear you, Barry. Plus, it doesn't help that these predator variants are never seen again.
Fishburne's character is wild. Dude killed 2 or 3 predators.
Sounds like a fisherman's tale to me. I'm sure each predator was a state record, too.
He was very cool right up until he introduced us to his imaginary friend and tried to suffocate everyone.
I sometimes pretend I have an imaginary friend. It helps me through the speeches.
He must talk a lot since you stutter harder than fictional Tourette's guy from the next movie.
Please, not yet. We're still in the good one.
Fair enough. Brody calling the predators into Fry Fishburne was quite satisfying.
Too bad both the Russian and the convict died from that excursion.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone was super broken up about the death of an FBI most wanted death row convict that sexually assaults women at around 5 p.m.
They got every type of predator from the human race, even the sexual variety.
I think the world would be infinitely better if predators collected all the diddlers and hunted them for sport every year.
I would give up my whole damn ranch to make that happen.
Regardless, Hillbilly went out like a boss. Put a few good shanks into the Berserker Predator.
Berserker Predator is what I call my son when he's on bath salts and Viagra.
But that one doesn't even have Hunter in the name.
Pretty odd to give the least likable character in the story a heroic ending. Am I supposed to look back on his character as redeemed or some shit?
But come on, that shot of the Berserker Predator ripping dude's spinal column out and roaring at the sky was fucking metal.
It was a certified nut.
I figured we could stop worrying about human betrayal after he died. But boy, was I wrong.
Brody's plan to release the original Predator that's being bullied was both interesting and hype as fuck.
The one-on-one duel between the Yakuza and the Scout Predator is my favorite highlight of this movie. It was exactly like Billy's sacrifice in the first movie. But this time, dude actually killed the Predator 1v1.
Good stuff.
This final fight was pretty badass, although I would have preferred that Brody fought the Super Predator alongside the OG. Maybe with the both of them, they could have killed the Super Predator and made it off the planet.
The face reveal for the Super Predator had to be the most disappointing part of the movie. That thing was ugly as fuck, and not in a good way like the original.
It really didn't help that we got a side-by-side comparison to the OG. Stan Winston Predator is goated, and it gets disrespectfully dethroned.
Now it's time for the most dumbass plot twist in the entire movie. Eric Foreman stabbing Isabel with the trippy plant goo after she just saved him made me cringe super hard.
It was cool to reveal the reason that he was here in the first place, but it didn't really make sense to punish Isabel even more than being caught.
Also, how in the flying fuck did Foreman know all the poisonous plants on an alien fucking planet? The writers made absolutely no effort to explain that. Did the predators use seeds from Earth to make this jungle, or what?
Also, the effects of the poison seemed to act slow enough to where she could have totally turned around and shot him before the poison kicked in.
How long did he really think he had to Jeffrey Dahmer her? The fight was going to be settled in a few minutes anyway, and one of the parties would be back to kill him.
Yeah, that was pretty cringe, but at least it sets up an epic finale with Brody fighting the Berserker. Metal as fuck.
Fight was pretty good. Feels good to see the CGI Predator get clapped.
It was also refreshing to see an ending where the heroes don't ride off into the sunset, but instead are up against the same threat with different people and aliens.
I would have watched the fucking shit out of a sequel to this story.
I would have watched it too, but where do we think this one lands?
S tier easily.
S tier for sure.
Not quite. I think this one was fun, but it's more of a high B tier in my eyes.
Another low ball, huh, Barack?
I agree it is an S tier, more of an A tier for me. I had a problem with the plot twist, new Predator design, and even the dialogue.
True that. Way too much pandering toward the original. There are so many suspiciously familiar scenes and copied dialogue in this movie.
I will admit that the dialogue from the first movie wasn't even worth copying all this much. By the end of the film, it was like Brody was cosplaying as Dutch. Plus, it could have used more alien species other than the predator dogs and that weird man cricket.
Does that change your rating?
I'm willing to let it slide into A tier.
I guess the mission is back on.
Leave my building alone, George.
Okay, so A tier with Predators. How about the 2018 Shane Black film, The Predator?
I didn't think you could get any dumber than Predators, but they decided to push the envelope once again and come up with an even worse title than the last movie.
At least the last movie makes up for the dumb title by being very entertaining. This one has a dumb name and is also a trash movie. I'm going to go take a nap, text my aides when we're done with this trash.
I don't blame him. This one was rough.
Yeah, this film broke me as a Predator fan. I was so hyped to hear that Shane Black was writing and directing this film because I thought he would make a funny movie that was respectful to the predecessors. Instead, he butchered it worse than the Jungle Hunter did to his character in Predator 1.
Don't get me wrong. The offhanded pussy jokes from the first movie were fantastic, but to base the entire script's dialogue for all characters based off that character was a terrible idea.
It doesn't get any better with the plot. I genuinely have no idea what the point of this movie is.
The point of the movie is basically saying Asperger's is a superpower.
I would love to hear the conversation behind making disabilities into superpowers as a plot point.
The fact that we're even fucking around with the developmentally disabled in a Predator movie makes my blood fucking boil.
All scenes from the special ed kid are like watching a Lifetime movie about bullying. At least the intro to this movie starts out pretty tame, standard Predator shit.
Cool to see a rogue Predator fleeing from a larger faction.
Chris Kyle is a pretty boring protagonist in this film. Nothing really wrong with him, but he never wowed me.
Boyd Holbrook is so much better in Narcos.
He was probably the best character in this movie besides Gaylord Willis.
Keegan-Michael Key is always a joy to watch. Some of the only good parts of the film is him shooting the shit with the boys.
Talking smack with the boys is goated, but I really needed some actual cinema along with it.
The dialogue in this movie breaks the immersion at every turn. It felt more like a parody rather than an actual Predator movie.
The twist of the knife was the fact that they played the OG Predator music the whole time.
Just let me try and explain the plot to you guys and see if you would fund this movie. Predator-human hybrid comes to Earth in order to warn humans, by killing them, that predators are going to take over Earth based on global warming. Then an upgraded predator shows up to kill the hybrid predator and kidnap a developmentally disabled kid to make itself more advanced with Asperger's.
I don't think I could even come up with that plot if I was joking. Shane Black deserves an award for most fucked in the head.
The fact that they say all humans will die from global warming in 1 or 2 generations is a pile of shit. Did Al Gore produce this film?
I do think climate change is a major issue, but to politicize the very foundation of the movie was a huge mistake. If they had just simply said the Earth is getting warmer, therefore the predators are visiting more often, it could have been fine.
What's worse is Will Traeger. This dude may have been the worst antagonist I've ever seen in a movie.
The only part of his character that wasn't terrible was the fact that he chewed gum all the fucking time. At least his breath was fresh as fuck while he was being a complete tool.
His villainous nature was so forced. He did the wrong thing at every turn, like executing his own man while under attack.
I guess we get to see him blow his own brains out with the Predator gun, but that exit is so preposterously mediocre for the character they built.
You could tell that there was some rescripting and reshooting going on.
There's so much to hate about this movie. Lobotomized predator dogs, incredibly offensive Tourette's depiction, creepy guys creeping, and even more unnecessary dialogue callbacks than the last movie.
The upgraded Predator is 10 times as whack as the Super Predators. The CGI looked like shit again, and this thing was way too broken to have a cohesive story. Having it mow through endless government agents with ease and then only pick up and throw the protagonist is such bullshit.
This was meant to be a comedy, but it really wasn't even that funny at all. I chuckled maybe once or twice throughout the whole movie. and was pissed off for the rest of it.
Pretty much the only redeeming part about the last act was Nebraska sacrificing himself to take the Predator ship down.
The final fight was boring and silly, just like the entire movie.
At least the government became good after they killed the Uber Predator. Crazy how that works.
I guess one dude chewing gum was the entire source of corruption and evil within the government. Convenient.
Shane Black really thought he would get himself a sequel. I'm sure we're all clamoring to see The Predator 2 featuring the Iron Man Predator or some shit.
Ugh, just put it in F tier. It's so fucking bad.
I felt bad for the hardcore Predator fans like you after this one. If there was a dictionary of F-tier modern films, this would make the cover. If you really want to see this film dissected properly, go check out Mahler's video on it. He does a great job, as always.
I'm glad we can get away from that one. How about the most recent film released in this list, Prey?
You already know what I'm about to say.
Let me guess, you don't like Prey for a title?
That's right. There are thousands of better choices for this movie's title than Prey.
Name one.
Predator, Comanche, after the tribe we follow.
Okay, name three more.
Let's see, Predator, Frontier. Predator 4, just a decanonized Shane Black's dumpster fire. Fucking dances with Yautja.
You stole that last one from Joe. Oh yeah, I'll text him to come back.
You really don't have to.
This movie brought me right back into the Predator franchise. Such a relief to have a modern movie not suck ass.
Right? Such a fun film. The cinematography was peak. The performances were great. We got a ton of Predator action, and there's even a puppy.
I thought this movie was mid.
Excuse me?
Explain.
Plot was trash. Predator looked like shit. Good action scenes, but I'm sick and tired of this new age feminist cookie cutter plot where the lead protagonist is a woman who's finding herself and gets doubted at every turn. But in the end, she's the most badass, and everyone was stupid for not seeing how great she was.
Nah, man, it's really not like that. Although everyone did doubt her, she was a reflection of the Predator in a way. It was smart for the setting to take place with the Native American tribes because some tribes have a very similar culture as the Yautja do. She had to prove herself just like the other hunters and her brother, or else she would probably be stuck gathering berries for the rest of her life.
My point still stands.
I kind of almost agree with you, Donnie, but not to the extent that it ruins the movie. Barack has an even better point, plus all other aspects of this movie are bussin'.
This movie is beautiful. I didn't like the CGI Predator face either, but the armor was dope, the weapons and gear were pretty spicy, and the Predator was on a total rampage.
Killtacular.
Kind of funny how the Predator worked his way up the food chain. It's like Joe Rogan was in the writing room like, what if a Predator fights a snake and then a wolf and then a bear?
Honestly, a pretty great showcase of all the American wildlife.
Pretty weird how bison and moose were excluded. Those things can both be scarier than bears.
You have to admit, the bear fight was fucking awesome.
It was pretty sweet. The Predator has a harder right hook than Francis Ngannou.
This movie is good at living in the moment and letting the effects and acting tell the story rather than having a bunch of exposition.
Of course, the big bad white men are here trespassing on the stolen land.
Natives didn't have the concept of owning property, so technically, we didn't steal anything. We just claimed it all and told them to screw.
That sounds suspiciously like stealing.
Whatever, we won anyway.
What do you mean by we?
I live in Texas, bro. My ancestors probably took native scalps for bounties.
My ancestors probably bought Long Island for $20.
The French colonizers were historically accurate in their brutality, which I enjoy much more than portraying them as normal Americans like in Pocahontas.
I guess so.
The Predator had a wonderful evening with those guys.
I will again compliment this movie for its unique slaughter from the Predator. It seemed like the Predator had a more brutal side that all of the other Predators didn't quite have.
The Predator versus the group of young Comanche hunters was amazing.
What the hell was with the young hunters turning against her? Her own people and brother's friends really beat the shit out of her? Seems like just a way to give our fearless heroine more to overcome.
It's not like men were very nice to women back then.
Fuck that. Her brother was the most OG hunter there. And I don't think that dude should have put his hands on Naru like that purely out of respect. I'm with Donnie here.
The brother was definitely very cool. It's like he was literally playing himself in the movie with those moves.
It's great to see a whole cast of people who are actually of the nationality of their characters. Makes for an extremely immersive experience.
Dakota had immense swagger, and it was sad to see the Predator gank him with invisibility.
Gave his sister a fighting chance, though.
The final fight measures up to all that came before it. Plenty of cool ideas and good writing.
I have a similar problem with this one as I had in the last one. You see the Predator cave a bear's skull in with one punch, but then you see him slam Naru in the ground with even more force, and she's okay. What's the point if the Predator receives a 50% nerf for the final battle every single time?
Come on, Donnie. That kill was well earned, and you got to admit it.
I won't admit shit. The Predator had her dead to rights. I honestly wanted to see a very different ending where the Predator leaves successful for once.
That does sound pretty nice. But then what about Naru?
She can still have her moment in the sun. Maybe helping the Predator kill the French guys would earn its respect enough for it to spare her in a moment, echoing the end of Predator 2.
You make a fair point. It would have been cool to see something a little different, but there is still way more to like about this movie than to hate about it. Not like it's as bad as the last one by any means.
I could go into the bathroom right now and squeeze out something better than the last movie. I am at least comparing it to the originals.
Where do we think, George?
I'm at S tier, just under the original.
That sounds fine. I'm right around A tier. What about you, Donnie?
I'm feeling a low B.
Come on, bro. You're sleeping on this movie more than Joe.
Hey guys, I'm back. Where are we at?
We're deciding on a grade for Prey.
Fuck me. You're already all the way through. I figured I had time for some chocolate chip. This movie was awesome. Hottest native girl since Pocahontas.
Is that really all you think about this movie?
Okay, fine. The fights were 10 out of 10. The movie looked incredible. The Predator was treated with respect. And there's a puppy.
The puppy making it through to the end made me smile.
What's the final rank, Joe? It's kind of all up to you.
I'm not so high on it that I'd put it in S tier. An A tier sounds good to me.
I'm glad we could agree, Joe.
Great minds, bro.
You said it. Any major arguments?
I guess A tier is okay. Donnie was right about the plot being fairly predictable.
Let me guess, Donnie hated this movie because there's women in it?
Essentially.
Fuck off Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Is Prey over Predators?
It's a close one. I think I'm going to say they're about the same, but Predators showed me more cool shit.
I'm with you. I think Prey is superior in a couple of ways, but Predators is slightly more entertaining.
Prey under Predators is fine.
Okay, guys, only 2 films left. The divisive Alien versus Predator movies.
Here we fucking go.
I can already tell this is going to be an issue.
What's with this weird dark David Goo cloud looming over this movie? I thought it was okay.
This shit stinks. Worst films in the franchises.
I sort of agree. It's the most Spike TV shit I've ever seen in my life.
Are you guys dizzy from too much oxygen or some shit? This film was an instant classic.
I'm not quite with instant classic, but it sounds like I'm gonna have to be on Joe's side with this one, for fuck's sake. It's not half bad.
That's because it's full bad.
George, you're just finding yourself in a severe cope. You just hate this movie because the xenomorphs clap the Predators. Aliens are the superior being. Get over it.
You're as brain dead as the writers. They set up Predators as being the superior beings by taking on Xeno armies for a fucking holiday. Then they turn around and have a single xenomorph kill 2 whole Predators itself.
That shit was wild. It completely caught me off guard that Grid managed to get the second kill.
The fact that the xenomorph itself got a name and backstory through that brawl, that fight was a certified nut.
It fucking sucked, and you fucking suck for liking it.
Come on, what's wrong with this movie besides the decision to have 2 Predators go out early?
Characters and story are pretty boring. Also, the gore in this movie is unbelievably lacking.
Facts. Both of these franchises are known for shockingly brutal blood and guts everywhere. It really doesn't make sense that when they meet, the movie is rated PG-13.
The plot isn't terrible by any stretch. The frozen pyramid is dope as hell with all the moving walls. Characters are pretty good too. Gotta love Alexa Woods.
This babe is a munch. She also has way more common sense than any other character in the movie, similar to Ripley.
I will admit that Alexa Woods is a great character. She might be the best Ripley clone they've ever put out.
Admittedly, I can't really name anyone else besides Sexy Lexi and Sebastian. But I like how nobody with a small role is trying to overshadow the main few characters.
Xenomorphs haven't been so well depicted since the second Alien movie.
It's fair to point out that the xenomorphs are a much bigger threat than predators once they get going with the reproduction.
Right, but my issue is why would the predators have a xenomorph hunting resort to hunt things that are too deadly to fight on this scale?
My theory is that predators only like hot environments while xenomorphs don't care, making the predators more lethargic in the Arctic.
Plus, they really weren't in their element to begin with. Predators love being up in the trees so they can toss projectiles while invisible. Walking around dark hallways looking for xenomorphs without guns isn't where they want to be.
I just can't get over the fact that two predators, including a huge one, get killed early and the other predator doesn't make it out either.
Scar is still a great Yautja. Plus, the humans took the plasma launchers, so they had to rely on the gadgets and melee attacks against the most dangerous being in the universe.
Scar was the best among them, and he still allowed himself to be face-hugged.
It was dark. I'm sure he had some sort of xenomorph plan B on the ship.
That was the other thing I had a problem with. Although the setting of the pyramid was baller, There weren't too many points in this film where I felt I was watching a piece of art. A lot of scenes are too dark in this movie.
You, of all people, should know it's all about the immersive quality of the setting.
You've got me there. Not like Alien 1 or 2 had anything worthy of a wallpaper. The acting was also unimpressive, but not egregious.
I think you guys are forgetting about the cut scenes. Tons of great shots and Predator lore in those moments.
Cut scenes were so good, I definitely want an entire series based on that.
That dude Sebastian is pretty good. And Old Man Wayland doesn't do too bad.
The pacing in this movie is pretty great too. They speed run the intro and first act and get right into the action.
I guess the fighting scenes are pretty dank. Lots of cool interactions between all three species.
This was the best and last appearance of the Xenomorph Queen.
Smash.
Stop it.
The best part of this movie, in my opinion, was Alexa teaming up with Scar and forming a real bond through the mission.
You could tell Scar wanted to clap her cheeks.
Shut up, creepy sleepy. Scar recognized Alexa as a gangster after she speared herself a xenomorph, while two of his friends just died to one.
All the humans met pretty gruesome ends in this one besides Alexa.
Will you guys fucking stop? Every time you say Alexa, this damn thing goes off.
Shut the fuck up, Alexa!
Don't you know those things record you all the time?
I'm old as fuck living on a ranch in Texas. You think I give a shit?
Fair point, but George, did you really not like this final fight between Alexa and Scar and the Xenomorph Queen?
I will admit this fight was a banger.
The look on Scar's face when she popped out of the ice was priceless.
He gave her a really good fight. He spammed all projectiles at first because he knew he could easily die in one hit. Then comes in with the coolest spinning head spear of all time when the Queen chased Alexa under the water tower.
Something about the Queen busting through those whale bones was so satisfying.
Scar had a good fight. I'll give him credit. He should have had his head on a swivel a little more when he was wrangling the Queen for the environmental kill, though.
Very creative to have the Queen sink to the bottom of the Arctic Ocean.
Too bad Scar couldn't survive that. On the flip side, we get to see the biggest Predator force ever put to screen with perhaps the most badass Predator of the entire franchise. He has a fucking cape.
Count Yautja was drippy as hell.
Cool callback to Predator 2 when he gave Alexa a spear for her achievements.
She got a pretty cool spear, but they couldn't have given her a ride. Pretty sure she was stuck out in the middle of the Arctic with no coat and everybody dead.
Alexa is resourceful enough to get the boat back to save her, no doubt.
So are we softening up to this gem yet?
Thinking it over once again, maybe it is better than I remember.
Sorta, I guess, but still highly flawed.
Where do we think? I'm at B tier.
Thanks, Mr. Lowball. It's at least an A tier.
I'm at C tier, to be honest. I would have said D or F before this conversation, though. It's a lot better than some on this list.
What do you think, Barack?
Pretty tough, honestly, but after careful consideration, I'm going to go with Donnie in B tier.
Nice.
A little low, but I guess that's okay.
It's blasphemous in my eyes.
Where does it fit in B tier?
Definitely over Prometheus.
Don't you dare put it over Predator 2.
Put it right over Predator 2. This movie is far more entertaining and equally as chaotic, but I'd much rather stare at Alexa Woods for an hour and a half than Danny Glover.
He makes a good point, George.
Not a chance, bro.
Sorry, George. I'm going with the boys on this one.
No! You've all fucking betrayed me. Kiss your favorite buildings. Fucking goodbye.
I swear to God, if you come after Chuck E. Cheese, I'm going to come down to Texas and teach you a lesson.
I'd wipe the floor with your geriatric ass, Joe. You had a crash landing in front of the Air Force like 2 days ago and you were on the ground to start with.
Calm down, George. The Predator movies are at least more consistent than the Alien movies, excluding the shit Predator.
Suck, horsecocks.
Come on, George. We only got one film left. Alien versus Predator Requiem?
Yeah, okay. See y'all later.
That makes sense. He's really not missing much.
I wouldn't say I was looking forward to this one. Although it does have some cool moments, like the kinky alien pregnancy scenes.
This film is fucking whack. How can they go from a perfect setup with the Predalien at the end of the last movie to this dumpster fire?
It starts with the cast. The most prestigious actor in this whole fucking movie is Cricket from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Not a single actor or character stood out to me. I couldn't tell you a single name without Google.
At least this film fixes the gore that was missing in the last movie.
Yeah, but they didn't have to put enough gore in this to cover both movies.
The setting was so unbelievably boring. They tried to set up like 4 different storylines for the actors, and not a single one of them was interesting. Nobody cares about some pizza delivery guy that gets bullied over a hot bitch, some soldier mom that's having trouble with her kid, or even the police investigation behind the missing father and son.
I knew it. Barack doesn't care about our troops.
Fuck off. Don't act like you actually liked a single character.
I'm just playing around. They were all dog shit.
This movie doesn't give a fuck, does it? They seriously killed a child and his father within 5 minutes of the start.
Rather brutal.
At least the Predator hunting the Predalien was cool. If you cut out all other plot lines of this movie, you get about 25 minutes of good content.
Funny how they named him Wolf after the dude in Pulp Fiction that had to come in and clean everything up.
Nothing wrong with The Predator, but I think Lifetime movies have even better acting than this. It ruins the entire thing. And then it's like the movie figures out that all the actors are garbage and starts desperately trying to kill them all about halfway through.
The love story between the pizza guy and the arbitrary hot bitch was mind-numbingly horrible.
She was so clearly there for her looks, and that's it. Megan Fox isn't even on that level of useless jerkbait.
She's pretty hot, though.
The scene with her in the pool and the bullies was so awful. I was only happy when they all started dying.
The quality of this movie was dog shit, but at least it got a lot more interesting when everyone was getting killed left and right.
Even useless hot bitch dies in the chaos to the frisbee of death.
I guess I respect the film not giving her plot armor just because she's hot.
The Predator and all the characters go through all this trouble to keep the xenomorphs contained, and then the government just nukes the place?
Totally cuts the final battle short, too. Wolf would have had that kill even if he was mortally wounded.
Wolf is a Chad?
This movie was not it. I don't remember who made it out, and I don't give a fuck.
This movie was dark and dull and boring. Really not worth a rewatch.
F tier?
It's definitely an F tier.
Is it worse than the Shane Black Predator?
That's actually a tough question.
I'm not too sure. Both suck ass. I'm thinking this one was a little cooler, though.
It's hard, but I think I'm going to take Shane Black's unflushable dump over this historically terrible film.
It's like choosing between a douche and a turd sandwich. No real right answer, but at least Keegan-Michael Key is in The Predator.
I probably picked this film because of the Predalien and Wolf alone.
Either way, both movies are disrespectful at best. It's almost sad that this movie sucks so bad that no other AVP content has come out since.
I have heard that an AVP series might be coming to Disney+.
They better do it right. They've had nearly 20 years to release some AVP stuff, not including Mortal Kombat appearances.
We're finally done. Holy shit, that was a monster to make.
Let us know in the comments if you want to see the Alien vs. Predator video game tier list or any other ideas you have for content.
If you made it this far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I want to thank the folks that tune in on all the videos. The support has been unreal.
Until next time, you ugly motherfuckers.